Want to call a roll, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Secretary Chaudhry is absent. Mr. Derenberg,
Here.
Vice Chair Eberhardt,
Here.
Chuck Boyd as designee for Secretary Flora.
Present.
Ms. Lala is
Here.
absent. Oh, Ms. Lala is here. Great. Krishna Tuller as designee for Dr. Wright.
Here.
And Chair Casemeyer.
Here. Thank you.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Alex, you want to begin with your report, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning. First, I'll just note there are a couple of small revisions to the agenda today. First, Cassandra was called to jury duty, and so I will present item 5. For item 8, Myron Mason of the State Department of Education will replace Jillian Storms in presenting that item. And then in addition, well, that's Myron. And then when we get to the motion proposed for item 9, I will recommend a brief addition to the motion to require reporting by me to the commission.
Okay.
All right. And thank you so much. Great to see you all this morning. And I'll begin again with a brief note that staff have received no updates since last month's meeting that either Allegheny County Public Schools or Washington County Public Schools are moving to request emergency funding for their respective restoration projects at this point in time. But should either submit a request, we'll bring it to you quickly for review. And as we are back in budget season, I'll make a brief report on our staff's work to communicate the school facilities need across the state to our state's leadership. In recent weeks, staff and I submitted our capital budget request for fiscal 2027 to Governor Moore through his Department of Budget and Management. The engagement from DBM staff has been quite good, with many questions posed to us in response, which has allowed us to provide further details on LEA's specific project needs that we're aware of. And on the legislative side, Chair Casemeyer and I presented on this topic to Senate President Ferguson, who was so interested in our information about school facilities need that he extended our meeting past the scheduled amount of time and actually had to be prompted by staff to go to his next meeting. I'm really grateful for the time and attention that President Ferguson gave us, and we will be following up with his staff in the coming weeks. I've also requested time with Speaker Jones and hope to hear back from her in the coming weeks. And then there's the Capital Debt Affordability Committee, which meets this afternoon to consider school construction needs for fiscal 2027. And I will be presenting to CDAC today our updated summary of school construction needs and highlighting the challenges that our state and the school districts face. I'm hopeful that CDAC will consider carefully this information about school construction as it works to formulate its recommendations to the General Assembly on what the state's fiscal 27 debt targets should be.
Who's on that committee?
That is the governor, the comptroller, the governor's representative in the Secretary of Budget and Management, comptroller, the treasurer, and public members.
Okay.
In item 3 today, we will talk about the rising costs of school construction. For now, I'll just reiterate that if the IAC and Maryland's LEAs are collectively to ensure that every public school student in Maryland has a safe, healthy, and educationally sufficient school in which to learn, and that the portfolios of school facilities are fiscally sustainable, we will need to continue to identify the facilities projects that need to take place in the coming years and to develop estimates of the cost of those projects so that we can help our funders plan as much of the work as can be afforded. IAC staff are continuing to work with the school districts to collect the needed information, but it's not all in hand at this time. We need school districts to include in their project pipelines every project that must be done to maintain educational sufficiency, and to include in their CIP requests this fall every project that must begin design or construction in fiscal year 2027 to stay on track to educational sufficiency. So this concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions for Alex? Thank you, Alex. Consent
Thank you,
agenda.
Mr. Chair.
You have any thoughts on the
Yes,
consent
sir.
agenda?
This month's consent agenda includes regular administrative items, including last month's minutes, contract awards, revisions to previously approved contracts, one project closeout, cancellation of contracts no longer needed, a couple of reversions and amendments, and transfer of one school property and a piece of land. None require further comment, in my opinion.
Okay. Do I hear a motion we approve the consent agenda? Mr. Derenberg and Mr. Earhart seconds. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The first two items, 3 and 4, are for information only. First, item number 3 is school construction cost inflation. Alex?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In July, Mr. Derenberg asked staff to detail the changes in state appropriations in comparison with changes in the cost of school construction in Maryland. And so in last month's meeting, I presented to you data showing the level of state capital appropriations to school construction, both nominally and adjusted for construction cost inflation. Those data showed that after the initial burst of funding in the early 1970s, annual state appropriations fluctuated in real terms between about $100 million and $700 million a year until the boost of funding in 2022 with the Built to Learn Act. That took the total up to around $1 billion for 3 years, but now it's back down to below $500 million for fiscal 2026. But that account really doesn't highlight the real increase in construction costs in the last 20 years. On page 38 of your agenda, you will see a chart showing the percentage increase by year in the cost of school construction in Maryland compared with 2003 as the baseline year. That is the red line in the chart. In 2003, the state adopted cost per square foot was $139. In 2026, it's projected to be $431. Of course, each dollar figure is an approximation in that curve, as each project is different. But these figures are representative of the cost of school construction in Maryland. The chart shows that the cost has increased significantly more than the cost of general construction nationally, which is the yellow line, and even more than base consumer inflation in the economy, which is in blue for Baltimore metro area and in green for the US on average. If we assume that local and state tax revenues lag inflation, as they almost certainly must, then these figures show us that the purchasing power of available capital resources have shrunk by more than half in the last 20 years, if not by 2/3. This reduction in the purchasing power of capital budgets has resulted in school districts being able to execute today less than half the amount of capital maintenance and capital renewal projects that they could execute 20 years ago with the same budgets. School districts, accordingly, have not been able to afford to do a lot of needed work, and because the need for that work to be done does not disappear, but instead it accumulates as a backlog, this has helped to drive a steady decline in conditions until we find ourselves at a statewide average age of 32 years versus 24 years back in 2005, and an average condition of about 52% depleted versus what we would like to have, which is an average in the mid-30s. So when we look at this chart, we can see a big part of how the condition of school facilities came to be what it is today. I am not happy to say that all of the indicators from the market currently visible to us, and we can't see everything. We have no crystal ball, and things are changing week by week. But all of the indicators we can see suggest that this steep upward trend in the cost of school construction is not likely to abate. It will probably rise and continue to rise faster than general inflation. That means mathematically, this is just pure math, that the purchasing power of capital budgets, which already today is insufficient to maintain school districts' facilities, will continue to shrink. We as a society really, I think, cannot afford and will be even less able to afford in coming years the school facilities that we've become accustomed to. I think it's unavoidable that school districts in the state must work together to identify strategies for achieving and maintaining educational sufficiency of facilities that are used for education. This will not be a simple, quick, or easy undertaking, and so I'm not going to attempt to prescribe any specific strategies here today. It's also an effort that will require input from many, many different stakeholders and evaluation of practices from all quarters that Maryland may consider employing. IAC staff stand ready to support this effort and look forward to continuing to contribute data and expertise however we can. I'm happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you, Alex. This is the basic message that we've been delivering to the leaders in Annapolis. This is our primary focus. Questions for Alex? Mr. Jarenberg.
So, Alex, how does the policies that we have put into place affect the cost of construction school ages?
So that's a good question. Part of the cost here, I would say, one of the major drivers here are just market forces, right, which are out of our control completely. We know that the cost of labor has increased in construction industry. We know that material costs have increased for various reasons. Just demand globally, as well as now recently tariffs have added to the cost of some of the inputs to school construction. We know that there are other policies outside the IAC, such as environmental regulations that have led to improvements in our environment, but also have added to costs, for example, stormwater management on school facilities sites that have added costs to these projects and factor into part of the increase in the red line going up. And then there are other things that delivering education requires more now in school buildings than it used to decades ago, and that has added cost too. The IAC has done everything possible to not add to those costs. For example, when we set our state cost per square foot every year that the state will participate in for projects, we, as you know, have taken a very conservative approach to cost inflation projection so that the IAC is not driving this cost line up even further. And we use our ability to increase allocation or awards to projects on a case-by-case basis when the project owner can show that there is a uncontrollable driver of cost increases and that there needs to be additional state support for that project as a result. And we've done that more than a handful of times in the last 2 years. So we're doing everything we can to not contribute to that red line going up here within the IAC's own policies. I would say that the drivers are primarily outside, at the local and other state levels, as well as just pure market forces, that no one can themselves directly control.
And could you tell us how you think the zero carbon policy will drive the red line up further? Or
I'm sorry, the what policy?
Zero carbon.
Oh, so that may add cost. It's not a huge amount in a lot of the projects, because what we've seen over the last couple of years is the additional cost of making a project net zero has shrunk to just a handful of additional percentage points of cost over a non-net zero school. It's not that difficult, at least with elementary and middle-sized buildings, to go net zero. And electrification is part of the components are already going into many school buildings. I don't think that's going to be a massive driver on the cost per square foot, but it will add to the number of projects that need to be done in the coming years to decarbonize the portfolio of school facilities, and that will add to the budget pressures.
And lastly, is there one state policy that stands out that kind of affects the curve?
Not to me. Not to me. Really, I would say that the steepness of this red curve is an effect of like 8 to 10 significant drivers. Some are policies and many are just market forces.
Thank you.
Ms. Eberhardt.
Yes, are the pre-K classrooms significant in this increase in the past 2 years?
No.
Okay.
Any other questions for Alex regarding the inflation factors? We've been showing this document to as many people as possible, and it's a good visual for people to understand the situation we're in.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Item 4 is not an information only. We do have to vote on it. Item 4, fiscal year 2025 annual report. I want to thank Hannah and her staff and Cassandra for putting together a really great looking document. Hannah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm happy to present the IAC's FY 2025 annual report to you this morning. The IAC's staff has prepared this report for the last 4 years, not because it is mandated by the legislature that we do so, but as a tool for public information and transparency into the work we do here at the IAC. This year's report shares photos and information about the 10 new school facilities that were opened in the last fiscal year, describes the physical features that can be used to support the growing number of community schools in our state, walks through a 10,000-foot view of a school construction project's timeline to show why funds awarded in the early years of a project may not be spent until later years, and provides an overview of school facility condition data collected by our Maintenance Effectiveness Assessment and Statewide Facilities Assessment. We also share information about the amount of school construction funding available through our funding programs, including how nearly $914 million was awarded to local education agencies in fiscal year 2025, and the work that continues to be done for responsible portfolio management in a landscape where school construction costs continue to rise. The motion for this item is to approve the final draft of the comprehensive IAC fiscal year 2025 annual report, pending non-substantive edits by staff. Mr. Chair, after a motion is made, I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Hannah. Do I hear a motion to that effect? Ms. Eberhardt makes a motion. Mr. Derenberg seconds. Just want to say, Hannah, it really is a great looking document. You made what could be very dry information very interesting to look at.
Thank you.
Questions for Hannah regarding the annual report? Krishna?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have a question per se, but I just wanted to share that this report, as part of the presentation, was shared with MSD and Dr. Wright, and just wanted to pass her message appreciating the work that was done and how well the document was put together. So would like to commend the staff as well on behalf of Dr. Wright.
Well, thank you very much. Tell her we really appreciate her thoughts. Any other comments? Mr. Derenberg.
By looking at these pictures, it almost makes me want to go back to school again. They're actually some good looking buildings.
Yeah, it does. It's very positive. Makes you feel good to look at it. Any other comments? Okay, the motion is, repeat the motion,
Sure.
Anna?
The motion is to approve the final draft of the comprehensive IAC fiscal year 2025 annual report, pending non-substantive edits by staff.
All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Item 5, FY 2026 School Safety Grant Program applications, eligibility of projects in schools scheduled for replacement. We spent quite a bit of time in discussing this situation, and Alex is going to present some thoughts about it. Cassandra's not here. She's at jury duty. So Alex, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In 2018, the General Assembly created this School Safety Grant Program, or SSGP, in order to provide funds to school districts to address school security, including but not limited to door locks, areas of visual refuge, surveillance systems, and security vestibules. This program was administered by the Center for School Safety on behalf of the IAC for the last several years, but is being administered directly this year by the IAC due to the Center for School Safety having refocused on other activities. In July, you all approved the procedures for this year's program, and applications were due in September. The IAC approved an allocation amount for each school district, but delegated verification of project eligibility to the executive director. In reviewing school districts' requests, we have identified 8 funding requests for projects in 6 school facilities that are scheduled for replacement in the next 2 to 4 years. There's no law, regulation, or policy that expressly prohibits the IAC from granting funds through this program for facilities that will be replaced. However, the IAC has historically largely operated on the idea that as stewards of taxpayer dollars, the IAC should not deploy scarce state dollars on paying twice for the same capital items or facility improvements, or to pay for components that will be discarded before they have benefited students for at least a significant portion of their expected useful lifespans. And there are a number of examples in existing IAC regulations that demonstrate this policy approach. First, under the IAC's existing regulations, when a school facility is renovated, any components previously renovated in the last 16 years are not eligible for funding, because to renovate them again would mean a significant loss of their expected useful lifespans, and therefore the value of the funds invested by the state. Another example is when an LEA fully renews a facility, the IAC may subtract funding from the award to the project for projects awarded to investments in that facility that are less than 16 years old at that school. And third, when a school facility is transferred, the IAC assesses and requires repayment of any outstanding bond debt. And when the facility is sold, the IAC requires payment of a pro-rated share of the proceeds based on the percentage of state investment in that school. And specifically, when SSGP funds are allowed, while SSGP funds are allowed to be used to purchase improvements that have a lifespan of less than 15 years, the APG states that eligible projects should be for long-term capital facility improvements. The requests included in this item are shown on page 78 of your agenda. And the list shows that the 6 facilities will be replaced with new buildings within 2 to 4 years. So when the SSGP came back to IAC staff this summer, and staff proposed this year's administrative procedures to you for approval, the issue of facilities being replaced was not on the front burner. We did not propose a specific policy in that APG to handle these kinds of cases. However, in this cycle, these requests add up to nearly $250,000. Considering the increasing scarcity of state resources against the increasing need of school facilities statewide, and our continuing work to support security in schools, as well as good stewardship of limited available state funding, staff bring this topic to you for the IAC's consideration and offer a proposed policy that would help better align the SSGP with the IAC's existing policy approach. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have, but also to offer a potential motion to achieve the twin goals of supporting security for students in schools where they are now, as well as responsible use of scarce state dollars.
Go ahead, Alec.
Thank you. I would recommend a motion to amend the IAC's Administrative Procedures Guide and COMAR to state that the IAC shall reduce the maximum state award for a project to replace or renew an existing facility by the cost of awards made through the school safety grant program to that facility within the 5 fiscal years prior to the fiscal year in which the IAC approves the first construction funding for the project.
Are you finished?
Yes, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Let me just say, when my first reaction to this situation regarding requests from school systems about security and safety issues, and in these schools were going to be replaced in the next 4 to 5 years, my first thoughts were, and still are, that there's no way we should put any students at risk to deny these requests simply because the schools are going to be replaced in the next few years. So my first thoughts were that we should go ahead and approve the request. Alex, in trying to be consistent with our policy about improvements that are made to a school within 16 years of a new school being funded, that we somehow include these security measures in that general process. We're now going to, this regarding school safety programs, any improvements that were made within 5 years, because these safety procedures technology changed so quickly, we made it 5 years. Any security and safety programs that are installed within 5 years of a new school, they would be the funding would be reduced by that amount of money, is what we're basically doing. Any other thoughts about Alex's proposal solution to the situation?
Yeah, I think it's a smart solution that Alex came up with. I mean, it's a new program that's kind of handed off to us.
Right.
So we put our best practices in place to handle, which I think is so.
Ms. Eberhardt.
Yes, I agree with this decision. It's something I think security of schools, are way high for all of us and throughout the state. So I think this is good today and for the future. So I support it also.
Thank you. Any other thoughts regarding the motion that Alex mentioned, which we'll repeat in a minute? Okay, Alex, you want to make the motion so we can get it on the table, formally get it on the table?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. The motion is to amend the IAC's Administrative Procedures Guides and COMAR to state that the IAC shall reduce the maximum state award for a project to replace or renew an existing facility by the cost of the awards made through the school safety grant program to that facility within the 5 fiscal years immediately prior to the fiscal year in which the IAC approves the first construction funding for the project.
Do I hear a motion to that effect? Mr. Boyd makes a motion, Mr. Derenberg seconds. Any more discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hand, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I might say too that there are other security and safety proposals coming down the road, and we're probably going to seek others' advice or studies to see how effective these requests really are before we question make a decision about funding them. So these will be later in the year possibly, so we'll talk about it when they come up. Item 6, FY 2026 Capital Improvement Program Rescission, Queen Anne's County Public Schools, Kennard Elementary HVAC Project. Lisa?
Good morning, Mr. Chair,
Good
Madam
morning.
Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. Queen Anne's County Public Schools informed staff that a scope study was conducted for the Kennard Elementary HVAC replacement project that received funding in the FY 2026 Capital Improvement Program. The scope study revealed that additional work than originally anticipated would be required to complete the full HVAC replacement. This has resulted in a higher cost for the project and the need to push the project out a year in order to fully design and secure the necessary funding. To address the funding shortage and provide the additional time needed, Queen Anne's County Public Schools is requesting to rescind the FY 2026 project award and transfer the funds to their reserve fund account. This project will be resubmitted in the upcoming CIP based on the engineer's estimate. I will now read the motion, which is to cancel and rescind the FY 2026 Capital Improvement Program funding for the Queen Anne's County Public Schools Kennard Elementary HVAC project totaling $1,925,000 and transfer the rescinded funds to the LEA's reserve fund account.
Thank you, Lisa. For purposes of discussion, do I hear a motion to this effect? Secretary Chowdhury makes a motion and Ms. Eberhardt seconds. Discussion, questions for Lisa? Anyone? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Item 7, disposal of state-owned relocatable units and funding for demolition, Calvert County Public Schools. Lisa?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Calvert County Public Schools informed IAC staff that the 4 state-owned relocatable units located at Northern Middle School have not been used for instructional purposes for the last several years, have only been used for storage, and that they would like to demolish them. It also noted that the units, one of which was initially built in 1979, and the other three, which were initially built in 1985, have deteriorated and the serviceable life of all systems has exceeded. A replacement middle school is currently under construction, which will address any capacity needs that the relocatables were once used for. With that in mind, and due to the age and condition of the units, Calvert County Public Schools asked the construction manager for the replacement project to provide a quote for demolition, which came in at a total of $24,500 for all 4 units. Calvert County Public Schools is requesting authorization for demolition and funding of the state share of 61% of the total cost, totaling $14,945. I will now read the motion, which is to approve contingent upon the approval of the disposal of the units by the Department of General Services, the disposal of state-owned relocatable units numbers 43718, 43720, 44062, and 533-4 stationed at Northern Middle School in Calvert County for the purposes of demolition, and to provide demolition funding totaling $14,945 from the statewide relocatable repair fund, a subset of the statewide reserves.
Thank you, Lisa. Again, for purposes of discussion, do I hear a motion to that effect? Ms. Everhart makes a motion. Secretary Jodrey seconds. Questions for Lisa regarding this specific project? Mr. Derenberg.
I don't really have questions about this project. I just have questions about the policy that we have.
Yeah. You think we can proceed on this particular motion, and you can speak to your
Sure, yeah. Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion about this specific motion? All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Derenberg.
So, I know the relocatable classrooms are needed greatly. I don't feel that the state should be in the trailer business anymore. We have, from what I understand, about 50 out there still, has about 115 classes. 10% were over 54 years old. So the average age is about 47 years old. Newest ones are about 35 years old. They're not temporary anymore. To me, it's like we bought them, we gave them to the LEAs, they used them, and now we have to pay a portion to dispose of them. Like having a brother-in-law move into your house, you house them, you feed them, and then you got to pay them to leave. I mean, I just think it's time that we get out of the business. We stop paying for the disposal. I understand it's our policy, it's not a state policy. So we have the ability to change it. And I would like to see it on the next meeting. We'll agree that we just end this policy. The LEAs can, whatever units they have, they can keep. This one admitted that they haven't used it for classrooms for several years. Some of them actually are getting additional money because of units they have through the EGRC program. We're not only giving them free trailers, we're actually giving more money because they have those trailers. I just think it's time we get out of the business of trailers. We will free up time for the staff. We are the stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. I think this is just a waste of our money that we have to pay to have them destroyed also. After buying them, give them to them, letting them use them for free. I mean, they rent old ones from other people.
So let me understand your thoughts and proposal. You're not saying we should stop using them. You're saying, I think you're saying that we should stop paying for the demolition of them.
Absolutely.
Is that correct? Alex,
Absolutely.
do you have any thoughts initially?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Derenberg, you're right in that the state-owned fleet of relocatables is very old. Because of that, they are mostly all quite depleted and or past their usable lifespans, and they are a bit of a cost liability. But the state did purchase these relocatables decades ago when there was a huge unmet need for seats, and a lot of districts really needed assistance in providing space for their overcrowded school enrollments. And there really wasn't an alternative at that time to provide temporary needed space for students. And then over time, that has now decreased as an issue to where we are, where, the presentation last month from Maryland Department of Planning showed that the state overall is not facing a huge amount of enrollment growth in the coming years, and the need for relocatables has diminished significantly. So I do absolutely agree that those should be phased out and eliminated as quickly as possible, and that there's much less need now for the state to be involved in that. However, I'll mention a couple of key considerations here. First, the relocatables themselves are owned by DGS, and so deciding what to do with them in terms of ownership is not solely up to the IAC. It has to be done in concert with DGS, and so I imagine Secretary Chaudhry's staff would need to take a look at some key issues around that before any decision is made on how to dispose of them. And then the second thing is that although I'll just say that historically, the IAC has provided not full funding for demolition of relocatable when it's done being used, but just the state share, so that it's a shared cost between the owner, which is the state, and the user, which is the school district. And that is still consonant with the rest of the IAC's funding approach to making improvements in school facilities. It's generally for state-supported use, a shared cost split. But I see Secretary Chaudhry has his hand up, so I'd like to make sure that he has an opportunity to add his comments. Thank you.
No,
Mr.
thank you
Chair.
very much, Alex. And, Alex and I had discussions about this offline, where these are legacy infrastructure that's been there for these relocatables, and something we can certainly talk about, decision points on disposition of them, how we handle them, etc. Obviously, with a lot or nearly all of them are past their useful life. So as we transition forward, as we will be working very closely with the LEAs on need, and how the state can partner with the LEAs to best, in addition to the IAC, for this disposition. And generally speaking, traditionally, whenever there is some type of this, there's obviously open for discussion on disposition costs associated with this. Traditionally, with the state, anytime there's been a state structure, the states usually participate to some degree on the cleanup associated with that to address it. So we sort of take all that into account as we talk through this, but I think there's certainly ripe for discussion now that a lot of these are aging out of their useful life, and now we need to start making some decisions on their continued use and or replacement or disposition. So and it's a great very timely conversation.
Thank you. Mr. Derenberg.
I would love that we would never have to vote on disposing of them again. That's all. I mean, we can keep them all you want. It's just I don't think we should be involved in the disposal, the money part, or anything like that. I mean, some counties do have like 500 trailers still.
Any other comments? So I just want to be clear. Let me ask a question first, Alex. Who makes the decision regarding whether these units should be disposed of? Do we have any? The local Go ahead.
That's up to the local school district using the relocatable at this time because they're responsible for monitoring the condition of them and deciding when they no longer need it for educational purposes. And some school districts have continued to use them for educational purposes. Some have used them for a time and then switched them to another use, including storage. And then when they come to a point of Calvert County's replacing the facility, they often have said, well, let's finish these off and finally dispose of them. And at this point, of course, based on the age and the condition, the state is going to say, absolutely, there's no point in retaining these or moving them to another site or use. It's actually more expensive at that point to move them, most likely than to dispose of them.
Okay.
And the state says, yes, you can proceed.
Mr. Derenberg.
So, and from what I understand, there's only 7 counties that still have state-owned trailers.
Correct.
So I sympathize with Mr. Derenberg's thoughts and proposals. And I think that you and the secretary should put together some thoughts on a proposal to hopefully be presented as soon as we can regarding this situation and your recommendations, including if we don't pay for it, will that tend to let these counties or keep these facilities for a longer period of time for whatever use they want to provide instead of getting rid of them? I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, but is there a consensus that Secretary Chaudhry and Alex put together some thoughts and a proposal on this situation for as soon as they can put that together? Is everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So Alex, you all can do that?
Ms. Eberhardt, you have a comment to add?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, you're muted, I believe.
Sorry. Ms. Eberhardt, you're muted. Linda, you're muted. Can't, okay. I don't know what you're saying for sure.
Ms.
Okay.
Eberhardt, if you bring your cursor to the very bottom of the screen, it should bring up your ribbon where you can unmute on the left corner, bottom left corner. No? Okay.
Sorry.
Mr. Chair, I'll just say yes, absolutely happy to draft up some information and proposals for the commission with Secretary Chaudhry for the next meeting. I definitely want to do a little research into what the current uses are of each of the 52 relocatable still state-owned, still in service, to see how many are being used for instruction, if any, and then bring that information back.
Okay, good enough.
Okay. I think I'm unmuted now.
Yes,
Yes.
we hear you.
Well, that was going to be my comment, Alex, is let's look by county of what their uses are to ask them, or do they intend to keep them for a year, 10 years, or what it is? How many are we talking about? And the time period for that would also be helpful information before we make a decision.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Sounds good. Let's move on to item 8, FY 2026 Non-Public Aging Schools Program Administrative Procedures Guide. Myron Nelson. Hi, Myron.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. Again, my name is Myron Mason, Program Manager for the Non-Public Aging Schools Program at the Office of School Facilities at MSDE. Annually, the Administrative Procedures Guide for the Senator James E. Ed DeGrange Non-Public Aging Schools Program is updated to reflect any new changes in policy, as well as provide updated information about the program's current fiscal year, steps to apply for the program, and steps to requesting reimbursement. The Procedures Guide is uploaded and made available on the IAC website for the non-public schools use. I will now read the motion, which is to approve the Administrative Procedures Guide for the Non-Public Aid in Schools program for fiscal year 2026, to authorize the Executive Director of the Maryland State Department of Education's Office of School Facilities to approve extensions for applicants and changes in the scope of approved projects until no later than June 30th, 2028, and to authorize IAC and MSDE OSF staff to make non-substantive revisions as needed.
Thank you, Myron. Do I hear a motion to that effect for purposes of discussion? Secretary Chaudhry and Mr. Boyd. Any questions or thoughts about the motion? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Myron. Appreciate it. Final item, number 9. Executive Director authority to approve schedule extensions for the Aging Schools Program, Healthy School Facility Fund, and the School Safety Grant Program. Again, Cassandra is at jury duty, so Alex will comment. Alex?
Actually, I will defer to Arabia to present this
Oh,
item.
okay. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hey, Arabia.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Chair, Madam Vice Chair, and members of the Commission. As you all know, we frequently come to you to request certain extensions, specifically through our smaller funding programs, including the Healthy Schools Facility Fund, the Aging Schools Program, and the School Safety Grant Program. Deadlines for these programs are largely established in the IAC procedures and are not based upon any financial, statutory, or regulatory reasoning, and instead are established to ensure that projects move forward in a timely manner. Due to staffing constraints of local education agencies and a sometimes unpredictable construction market and with unpredictable bid climates and long lead times for certain materials, these items are becoming more and more frequent and have become more time sensitive. Approval of this item would allow the executive director to approve scheduling related extensions only for the IAC smaller programs. And if this item is approved, and if you would like for us to, we will be happy to provide a regular report of extensions approved by the executive director in each month's consent agenda. Mr. Chair, the motion has been slightly modified, and if you and the commission members agree, I would like to read the modified version.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, the motion is to authorize the executive director to approve schedule extensions for the Healthy Schools Facility Fund, Aging Schools Program, and School Safety Grant Program on a case-by-case basis, and to direct the executive director to report any extensions granted to the IAC within 45 days.
Thank you, Arabia.
You're welcome.
For purposes of discussion, do I hear a motion supporting Mr. Secretary Chaudhry and Ms. Eberhardt seconds? Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all. Thank you, Arabia.
Thank you.
That concludes our agenda. Does anyone have any thoughts, announcements they want to make?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I have one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce a new member of the IAC staff who's joined us in the last few weeks to our capital projects team, and that is Ms. Laura Smiles, who comes to us from one of the top architecture firms in the state that works with school districts. So I want to give Laura a chance to say hello quickly to you all, and just say I'm very happy to have her on board with our team working with the school districts. Laura?
Hi, Laura. Welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. And
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for having me here. Happy to be here, but also thank you to the entire IAC team. They are incredible, welcoming, competent, and just really great to be around. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Thank you. I wish you the very best. Anything else anybody wants to say? Okay, do I hear a motion? We adjourn. Mr. Boyd makes a motion. Mr. Derenberg seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, hope you have a good month and we'll see you in November. Take care. Bye-bye.